listening to Sopherstition with your hosts, Sophia T and Sophia R.
Happy Friday the 13th, boys and ghouls. It is I, Sophia R.
And it's your girl, Sophia T, on this Sopherstitious Friday the 13th special. You know, Sophia R, I don't actually know why Friday the 13th is considered an unlucky day, and why people are so superstitious about it.
Well, I always thought that the curse surrounding Friday the 13th was nothing more than a link towards the classic movie franchise with...
You know that it's the other way around, right?
I know. I just never really thought about it until I did my research, and it turns out that the origin of the unlucky nature is actually associated with the Last Supper and how Jesus was betrayed. Now, another origin story dates back to Norse mythology and has links to the trickster god Loki. Anyway, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about the 1981 horror classic, The Evil Dead. Let's jump into it!
Five friends go up to a cabin in the woods where they find unspeakable evil lurking in the forest. They find a tome called Necronomicon, Book of the Dead, and the recorded translation of the text. Once the tape is played, the evil is released. One by one, the teens are possessed. With only one remaining, it's up to him to survive the night and battle the evil dead.
Sleep with one eye open, kiss your loved ones goodbye, and brace yourselves for this week's episode as we venture through the terrifying events that transpired in this remote cabin in the woods.
Evil Dead is one of Sam Raimi's earliest directorial works. If you're unfamiliar with Raimi, he's directed quite a number of popular movies, including but not limited to the 2000 Spider-Man trilogy and the new Doctor Strange. He's also produced some horror films like The Grudge and Umma.
You know, I heard Umma is actually like a pretty decent horror movie.
I really want to watch it.
Yeah, we should review that in the next episode. What do you guys think?
Yeah, all 8 of you.
We love you.
We do.
Similarly, The Evil Dead was actually one of the first movies that Bruce Campbell has ever acted in, bringing forth the start of his legacy. Now, Bruce Campbell also acted in the new Doctor Strange movie.
What a coincidence!
Yeah, I never knew that until my boyfriend pointed it out. Now, I'm actually starting to see a link between director Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell. But have you ever seen them in like the same room together? They're like parallel lines, always together but never in contact.
Sussy.
Back to the plot of the movie. So a bunch of friends rented an old, worn down cabin in the woods for real cheap. In one of the first haunting scenes, something actually possessed Cheryl to draw the Necronomicon. And the Necronomicon is actually a book that is bound in human flesh and soaked in human blood. Now, coincidentally, Ash finds the same book while exploring the basement, and the group also stumbled upon a tape recorder where they listened to the translated version of the Necronomicon. It was said that the book was given license to possess the living. God. I guess just about anyone or anything can get a license in the good old US of A. After finding and listening to the tape, Cheryl actually gets creeped out by this and retreats back into her room, where we are then greeted by a sight of nudity.
Good old nudity.
Cheryl then heads out into the woods, trying to come face to face with the evil that lurks, and is then unwillingly assaulted in the nether regions by vines and branches. That was actually really, really hard to
describe because we're trying our best not to get demonetized. Thank you very much.
It is so easy to mistake this as horror pornography, in my opinion, but maybe it's the bad acting skills from the 1980s?
Yes, in general, I think the actors did a better job being possessed than acting as regular people, because there were times when the acting felt a little stiff while they were acting as regular people.
Speaking of bad acting, there were actually so many points in the movie where the answer was right there, in plain sight. For example, when possessed Cheryl broke free from the basement and ran out of the house. Ash ran to close the front and the back door, but there was a broken, full drop window right next to the front door.
That was Sophia R face palming, by the way.
What? Wait, hold on. First off, why can't the demon just, or possessed Cheryl just climb through the window?
They just want to mess with him. That's what demons do. Where this movie shines is not in its story or characters, but in its execution of chosen horrific elements. What it does best is to compel you with its upplay of demonic characterization, demons being taunting and sly, and I mean this in a good way, disgusting practical effects.
I mean, the only good thing about this movie is probably the makeup, like what you said, disgusting practical effects. I can't find anything like it anymore. The makeup is actually really, really terrifying and grotesque, unlike other horror movies where the makeup is either too plain or too fabricated.
It's very clean.
The possessed characters actually look disgustingly scary, and realistically as well. Like, if you watch it, you'll get the vibe.
Yeah, like you want to throw them in the shower and give them a good scrub down. That bad.
That exfoliating factor.
Yeah.
Oh man. Oh, that would be actually pretty satisfying.
It would be.
Right? Just to watch their scaly, blistering hands and their white eyes and their bruised face just come clean.
Just let it all peel off.
They kind of look like a baby born with Harlequin ichthyosis. Yeah, it's actually a skin defect where I think they were born with too many layers of skin.
Oh, I think I've seen that before.
Do you think that Harley Quinn was actually inspired by Harlequin ichthyosis? Because I actually think so.
I have no idea, man.
Overall, the makeup is just amazing, the special effects amazing, even compared to modern day horror movies. I give that a 666 out of 13 for the makeup. Just brilliantly grotesque. I also liked how stop motion animation was involved, and when I was a kid, I actually spent a lot of time on YouTube just watching horror stop motion videos. Like,
oh, me too.
Really?
Yeah, there are some really good ones.
By Lee Hardcastle.
What's that? I can't remember his name. There was this one guy who did a lot. I don't know if I shared them with you before.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so I guess I just kept the disturbing thoughts to myself.
No, there is actually one video, again by Lee Hardcastle. I might link it if I can remember down in the description box, where he did like a music video for a song called Nightmare, and the song's actually really good. I listened to it like a bunch of times when I was in primary school, and it was so great. I think it kind of took inspiration from The Evil Dead as well. Like, I could definitely see some aspects that link back to the 1981 horror classic. You should definitely 100% check out his work. I don't know if I've said it before, but the amount of hard work and effort that he puts into his films is downright just, what is that word? It's on the tip of my tongue.
It's like a labor of love.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. And he's been doing it for so long. One of his famous videos or movies or mini clips or whatever was actually titled Hamster Hell. I don't know if you've seen it before.
I don't think so.
So it's like a few chapters of this kid getting a hamster and how he brutally tortures the hamster. It progressed along with the hamster's life, like how this kid built the hamster in an amusement park with a roller coaster, calling it the Death Coaster. Do you want to ride the Death Coaster? That's just playing.
Why does that remind me of Salad Fingers?
Hello. I like rusty spoons. I like to touch them.
Did you know there was actually a point in my life where I was so young and I couldn't sleep without watching Salad Fingers?
That's weird, but now we know why you end up the way you did.
A horror connoisseur? Yes.
Yes.
All in all, I love stop motion animation. Let's get back to the thing. So, getting back to the stop motion in The Evil Dead, there were scenes where the record was playing and after the book was burned and how the victims slowly melted away. You don't really see a combination of stop motion animation and real life acting in horror movies anymore, unless they're purely like the former or the latter. You could tell that the producers and the cast members actually really put in a lot of effort into this frame by frame artwork. Good job, guys.
Now, I absolutely love practical effects in horror movies, and as a big claymation buff, I really appreciate them not only utilizing makeup but stop motion as well. It reminded me of the claymation master himself, Ray Harryhausen's notable Clash of the Titans, because it was actually released in the same year. Unfortunately, we don't really see many claymation movies anymore, because I think it's just because of the sheer time and effort that these films demand. Also, I think the demand for smooth CGI and modern aesthetics is higher or greater.
I think the last good stop motion animation that actually made it to cinemas was Coraline in 2009.
No, but what about all of the other Leica stuff? They've put out some good stuff. And
Isle of
too.
Dogs?
I haven't seen Isle of Dogs.
No, it's actually really creepy. Like, the trailer itself
Is
is
it?
really, really
It's on my
creepy.
to-watch list. I've seen their other stuff, though. They've put out quite a few in the past year. And I'm kind of thankful for them, because it feels like they're the ones really keeping claymation alive. Okay, talking about the techie stuff. There were some scenes where the camera work was a little questionable. I'm by no means against the whole handheld effect, and I do believe it can make for some really effective storytelling, but I feel that it was overused in this movie. There were certain scenes that probably would have been more effective had they just held still for a few seconds, because in those scenes, the shakiness was distracting and pulled you out of the quiet, still scene. It does the opposite of keeping you immersed in the story, essentially.
Well, I feel that one thing that's really, really unique to this movie is the point of view of the evil entity actually racing towards the group.
I found that this movie had an excessive use of that first-person view that you're talking about. Some shots just didn't make sense to have a first-person view, because you'd have one part where the first-person camera acts as a view from the demonic force thing, and then another as a view from the victims, like, really soon after that. So that inconsistency, plus the unwarranted shaky camera in the still moments and the not-so-great acting, made it hard to suspend your disbelief.
I don't actually, like, have that point of view whenever I watch movies. Like, camera angles and scenes and so on and so forth. I just watch for the storyline. I watch to judge everything else. But I never judge camera scenes. I should try that next.
No, I mean, just do what you feel like. Some things speak louder to most.
I want to judge makeup, and I want to judge storyline. I am the judge.
I want to be better at critiquing, like, the film scores, but I'm dumb. That sounded so pretentious.
No, you're not dumb. I think you just don't know how to put it to words. We could do more research, and then we could be like one of those IMDb raters.
IR speak English.
IR speak Latin summons demon.
Ooh.
Okay, getting back to the movie, there were also a lot of emotional scenes in this movie, despite all of the bad acting. I know. No.
I feel bad for the actors, though. Like, okay, I mean, I haven't seen their other works, or not knowingly, so maybe they've improved. I don't know where their careers went.
They definitely have. Bruce Campbell.
I mean, like, Bruce Campbell aside. I
Fair
don't
enough.
know.
Well, you could still sense a little bit of sadness when Ash hesitated to kill his girlfriend, even though she was possessed, and how he was embracing her for the last time, when he couldn't believe that his friend Scott had already died. I mean, despite all that, I'm sorry. I know that this is actually one of our subscribers' favorites, but I don't really have a favorite scene in this movie. I mean, there was nothing that really stood out to me in this movie except the special effects.
Yeah, I didn't have a favorite scene either. Like, nothing really stood out. Nothing is particularly memorable. Like, if you ask me what my favorite scene is, I have to, like, dig through my brain to, like, you know, remember the stuff.
I agree.
I did actually enjoy this movie, though, and I'd give it probably like a 6.5 out of 10.
Come on, make it at least a 6.66666. It's Friday the 13th.
Okay, fine. It's a 6.666 out of 13. The dramatic gore and practical effects were very entertaining.
For a fun factor, I feel like someone should set a countdown for the number of times Bruce Campbell actually gets splashed by blood. Like, you could create a game out of that, take a shot every time that happens, that kind of thing.
But the great thing about movies like this one is that they have rewatch value, because it doesn't matter if the plot has been spoiled for you. This is a movie you'd want to witness again and again if you appreciate the thrill of practical effects and making the most out of a low budget in the 80s. Before we leave, I'd like to give a big shout out to Alpha and Alif, who shared some very kind words about the podcast. We really appreciate the support. And thanks for hanging out with us on this episode of Sopherstition. If you're enjoying our podcast, leave a like and subscribe for more horror content. Until next time, stay spooky.
Woo!